Hello guys, welcome to fifth session of the VBI tutorials. Till now we are trying to retrieve the data from the our list. Now we are trying to retrieve the data from the database in a REST fashion. For this we need to create the database. I have already created a script which was available to you. Copy it and open Studio Manager. And run it. Here is our table which contains the five field: product ID, name, quantity, box size and the price. I am already included some dummy data for that, which will be helpful to us. Switching to Visual Studio and creating the new project of the ASP.NET web application with the title of REST GET request is. And select the web API. Okay. Here is our project. For retrieving the data from the database, I am going to use the entity framework. For that, we need to add the another project. Select the class library. Assign the name, product, entity. Okay. We does not need the class1.cs, so I'm going to delete it. Right click and add new data and ADO entity model and use the product model name. We need to create the our entity model from the database, so select the first option and click on next. Establish the new connection. Write the server name. Select the database. Click on test connection. It was success. You can also change the name of the your entity. Click on next. I am going to use entity framework 6.0. And select the table that you want to use for the entity. Change the name for that model and click on finish. Our entity is created. It creates all the property which are existing in the our table. We need to add the reference to that project in the our API project. Select the project and select the entity. Okay. Now we need to add the new controller. Right click on the controller folder, select the add controller. I'm going to use the empty controller. Controller name would be a product controller. First of all, we need to add the our entity namespace. That is a product entity. Then we need to create the method for retrieving data. We are going to create the toGet method. one will return the enumerable of the product type, and the another return the instance of the product. First of all, we will retrieve the all of the data. For that, I am going to write the public enumerable of product of get method, which does not require the any parameters, using product entities entity equal to new product entity. Return entity dot products dot to list. Here the product class was not created by us, it was created by the product entity itself. Right click and go to definition. Here is its definition, which contains the product ID, name, quantity, box size, and the price, which was accessed in the our product table. And we will retrieving the all of the products from the entity and return as a list. Now going to build our solution. Opening the API / controller name, that is a product. You can see that it will generate the exception. No connection string name product entity could be found in the our application configuration file. For that, we need to open the app.config file of the our entity project and copy that connection string, paste it into the web.config connection string section, and we need to rebuild our solution. And reload that page. You can see that it returned the array of the product, which contain the multiple product elements which are accessed in the database with the all of the item including the product ID, quantity, price, name, and box size. Those are sorted by the name, so box ID come the first instead of the product ID. Those all properties are sorted, that's why the box size come first instead of the product ID. Going to write the get method to retrieve the specific item. Which will return the product and take the ID as a parameter. Again, we need to use the using statement. Product entities entity object equal to new product entity. create the instance of the product, name product, and retrieve from entities product first or default x such that x dot product id equal the given id, and we need to return the product instance and build the solution. I'm going to open the Postman plugin and copy the URL, paste it, and write the API / product which will return all of the products. And now going to write here retrieving the product of id 3, which is a pen. Going to send. You can see that it returned the pen, but what happened when we are using the id which does not really exist? In that case, it is returning the null with the status code 200, that is okay. But in the RESTful services, we need to return the 404 not found status code. So we need to modify that. So open the Visual Studio. For that, instead of returning the product instance, we need to return the HTTP response message. And we need to check that if product is null, then we need to return the request dot create error response for that with the HTTP status code not found, that is 404, and the our message, that is product with given id does not exist. Otherwise, we need to return request dot create a response with the status code okay, and pass the our product object itself, and click on the build. And resend the our request. Here is we are receiving the message product with the given id does not exist and the 404 not found status. Now trying to send the request for the id which exists. That's it. It's returning the product detail with the status code 200. In this session we are learn about the HTTP response message. HTTP response message is a way to returning the message or the data from the our action, that is method. Request.create response or request.create error response method are used to create the HTTP response message. It takes the two parameters. First is HTTP status code, which will set the status code for our HTTP response, and the type T, it is the object that we are really want to return. Here is a code for returning the all of the element from the entity, and here is a code for returning the data for the specific ID. Thanks for watching.